I've never seen anything like it before, and to attempt to hit the ball out of there is pure madness.
The winner of the gold medal and the champion golfer of the year is Cameron Smith.
This is the one that I've always wanted to win since I was a little kid. So it just feels pretty amazing to be able to get it done today.
It's amazing that it's my destiny to be the first Aussie to win. Just incredible.
Hello and welcome to episode 10 of Playing from the Tips, Golf Australia Magazine's preview and tipping show, and what a week in golf we have for you this week. I'm Jimmy Emanuel, and with a couple of our so-called experts, we'll be taking you through the women's first major of the season, the newly named Chevron Championship, LIV Golf's first Australian event in Adelaide, the PGA Tour's Teams Zurich Classic, and the ISPS Honda Championship, which sees the DP World Tour headed to Japan for the first time. Joining me on that global journey are two informed tipsters and now regulars in this space, including a man who presses as many buttons when producing podcasts like this one as he does with his weekly columns. Rod Morri, welcome, Rod.
That'll be close.
Close. Not
Actually,
lately. You haven't been very controversial lately.
Wouldn't be close at all.
No.
Just pressing a lot of buttons, though. I write a lot of words. There's a lot of buttons, and I make a lot of mistakes. There's a lot that you don't see.
There's a lot of button pressing,
a lot of backspacing.
editing your stories
I can
too.
imagine, that's right.
There's only one button on that podcast console.
For the recording?
Yeah.
Oh, that's the bit above the waterline.
Oh, okay.
You don't see what's going on below the surface. When it doesn't go from there straight out.
That other voice is a man whose tipping form has some likening him to Paul the Octopus that picked 12 of 14 winners during the 2010 FIFA World Cup. Logue, thank you for gracing us with your oracle-like presence. Has people been coming up and recognising you on the street as golf's most successful tipster?
No. I think the setup we can have is a cookie on the left and a coffee on the right or something, and depending on which way I go is where we're going to tip. But,
that's great. I forgot about the octopus
Paul
at the World Cup.
Yeah. 12 out of 14. That's impressive.
You've probably got
better than
just about enough
random
watches
chance.
to fill an octopus, wouldn't you? We were just talking about this before we started. How many watches do you own?
What's that got to do with octopuses? Oh,
got 8 arms.
for every arm.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah. I could get Paul fitted out with a bunch
Two
of
on each
watches.
arm. Anyway, this is silly.
Before we jump ahead to this week, a quick recap of Logue and everyone's success from last week, where we combined for 1 win, 6 top 10s, and a tied 11th, just missing out on that one, which is about as good as I can remember. Logue with Matt Fitzpatrick as the winner. That takes his personal tally for the year to 4 wins, while we stand as a group at 9 wins and 67 top 10s to date.
Nice one. You picked Anna Lahiri too, didn't you? You finished second?
Yeah. John Rahm only has 4 wins this year, I think, doesn't he?
Yeah,
That's a question without notice, but yeah.
Everything's coming up low.
Yeah, that's right.
I've had about enough of this, I've got to tell you.
Yeah,
let's
exactly.
get into the second quarter.
With all of that behind us, let's get into this
behind me.
week. Yeah, we're behind you.
Yeah.
Let's get into this week. And despite the importance of an event at home here in Australia, that is going to be a huge week, let's give a major championship its due and pay attention to it first. And Logue, you are going to tell us all we need to know about the Chevron Championship, formerly the ANA Inspiration, formerly the Dinah Shore, formerly the Colgate something?
It's all my material.
Oh,
Just
What's left now?
That was all there was to know.
yeah.
Well, the Chevron Championship, the first women's major of the year. After over 50 years at its previous venue, it's now found a new home in Houston, Texas, at the Jack Nicklaus Signature Course at the club at Carlton Woods.
Yep.
Which just rolls off the tongue. The former venue, of course, was Mission Hills.
Yes.
And I've had a look at this golf course, the Jack Nicklaus Signature Course at the club at Carlton Woods. I think it's an improvement over Mission Hills.
36 holes at the club at Carlton
indeed.
Woods, isn't there?
The other 18 are a Fazio.
Yes.
And they're over a little bit more interesting ground than the Jack Nicklaus, and it looks quite interesting. Like all Fazios, it's really visual. I wonder why they didn't do it there, because the Nicklaus course is on this very flat piece of ground through nice woodland, but doesn't look very remarkable. It's very much a golf course-shaped golf course.
Be some logistical reason to do with corporate tents and hospitality. The golf
Absolutely,
course is almost
always
last in all of these decisions. And if you were ever to organise a golf event, I reckon you'd understand why. You'd be like, who cares where we play it? I need to fit these 400 tents somewhere, so we're not going to Marion.
To be fair, to try and appeal to a more casual fan, the word Jack Nicklaus tying in helps with selling a golf
little bit
tournament
better than the
more.
Faz.
Yeah, absolutely.
It looks to me like the selection criteria for this was that they wanted the tournament in Houston because Chevron's based in Houston, and they scouted around for what are the best golf courses in Houston, and this was thereabouts and could host a tournament.
Yep.
And that's not I guess that's the basis for which they've picked this course. But Nicklaus himself considers it among the 18 best courses he's created, which is a very odd number to
What does
nominate.
that cost to be one of Nicklaus's favourite 18, I wonder?
I don't know.
That'd be
It's
a
a
part of the
Nicklaus
package,
signature.
wouldn't it? A signature costs you an extra certain amount.
Signature's
You get a
more
visit.
involved. Yeah.
That's right, you get a visit
He
from
might
Jack
have
and that sort of
visited a
stuff.
few times, yeah.
Yeah.
And but being amongst the 18 best courses, does that mean it's the 18th?
Oh, there'll be something on the Nicklaus site, won't there, where there's, my favourite 18.
gems or
Yeah,
something like that. Yeah,
But,
that's where it's coming
18's
from.
his number.
Yeah,
Oh,
true.
Yeah.
Golf holes, majors.
20 really. Or has
20.
he gone to the 18?
He's
Yeah.
gone to
Well,
18. He's
Yeah.
gone to 18.
He's given up on the other
Of
two?
course he has.
You got to count the amateurs. Anyway,
Yeah.
the question that everybody wants to know is: there a pond next to the 18th green?
And has it been concreted in readiness? For
Because, of course, there's a famous tradition of Poppy's Pond, which dates back to the 70s, I think. There was a tournament director whose nickname was Poppy, and the pond was named after him. And winners took to diving into the pond. And over the years, that pond became more and more sort of like a pool, which it needed to be because it was pretty dirty.
Who
in the
broke
early
their
days.
arm? Somebody broke their arm. Somebody's mother broke their wrist.
Someone's mum. Yeah,
Jumping
yeah,
in.
yeah. Like Thomas LeVay breaking his leg,
LeVay
jumping
broke
in
his
at the
ankle,
Golf
didn't he?
National. Yeah.
Yeah, that's right.
Well, unsurprisingly for a Nicklaus course, there's a whole lake next to the 18th, and they're preparing part of the lake. They've sort of like netted it off, and they're preparing it and tidying it up.
OH&S gone mad.
So we'll see. I think it's very likely that celebration of jumping into
Maybe it'll be up to the winner.
a body of water will continue.
That celebration is all down to Amy Alcott, who did it in 88, and then the next two winners didn't do it. Then Amy Alcott won again, and she went, I'm going in. And they all went, okay, well, now I've kind of got to. So
There you go. The other thing, I think, another question is that the Mission Hills featured a statue of Dinah Shore, and it's unclear at this point how Dinah will be honoured at this new venue, if at all.
The tragedy of it.
which is a
It
shame
really is.
if there's
It's the
not
tragedy of it, yeah.
some attention paid, because a very important person in women's golf.
Yeah, and so it's worth examining Chevron very briefly. They've increased the purse of this tournament over 60% to $5 million last year, which brought it in line with the other women's majors.
Yep.
And so that's certainly a positive, and it certainly needed that.
Yep.
A&A must have had a couple of bad years there, and they weren't able to provide that level of prize money for this very important tournament. They've changed the date, which I think wasn't entirely their desire, but it's probably for the better.
They did want to get away from the Masters, didn't they?
Yeah, wanted to get away from the Masters.
And once there was
and the
the
AWA.
women's amateur, there was, playing the week ahead of the Masters when everyone knows the Masters is around the corner is a very difficult thing to do.
Well, for the poor amateurs who had to make a decision between the first major of the year of the AWA, and then for a lot of the media companies, where do you send your journos? To the ANWA or to the ANA?
Somebody had to blink.
Well, and if you
and
don't
it
go
was
to the
never gonna be
ANWA,
Augusta National.
you might get frowned on by Augusta National. So there's the repercussions. That was an awful thing that Augusta National did with that ANWA, I thought, anyway.
And finally, of course, it was moved to Houston, which is just purely because that's where Chevron are based.
Yep.
So a lot of interesting stuff there to see how this tournament pans out this year. Chevron have introduced a hashtag, if you're interested in following along. Stars are bright there. Or depending how you read it, could be stars are bri there. Bright here. Stars are bright here or bri there. I don't know which way to go with that. One makes sense, the other one doesn't. It's only been used by the Chevron Championship official account so far, so everyone should get behind that. and start-
Absolutely.
Yeah, that's.
What about, have you done a breakdown of the Chevron company font and logo?
I looked at the logo. It's okay. It's okay. It's very
That's
conservative.
actually pretty high praise.
That's pretty, that's
well,
right.
it's okay because they've taken no risks. It's like very, very conservative, the logo that they've done. Chevron at least actually has a chevron in their logo, which it's not bad. It's pretty powerful.
That's a little sort of semi-V-shaped thing, isn't it? A chevron.
Yeah,
You see on
Callaway
the,
Golf's logo is a chevron.
on the freeway, you see those, don't you? You've got to leave so many chevrons between the car and front. Okay.
So Australians in the defending champions, Jennifer Kupcho. I'm not sure she's bringing a tremendous amount of form or experience because it's a new golf course. but we'll be interested to see how she performs this year. Australians in the field include Minjee Lee, Hannah Green, Grace Kim, Steph Kiriakou, Karis Davidson and Sarah Kemp. Yep. Suo's on the reserve list. My pick for the week is Nelly Corder. I'm really going out on a limb there. And top Australian, Hannah Green.
Okay. Rod, a winner and a top Australian?
It all changes, doesn't it, with the move of golf course. Normally this was like the Masters. You knew that this course suited these players. Now we've got all that. I'm going out on a limb. I was thinking about Nelly Corder as well, or one of the other big names. You know who they are in women's golf. Brooke Henderson, Jin Young Ko, Minjee Lee. That's a bit boring. One of them will probably win. But I'm going with Christina Kim.
Okay.
Because last week somebody wrote after 2 rounds a story about Christina Kim in the local paper, and then the local paper tweeted this out. Just when you thought Christina Kim couldn't get any cooler, check out how she carries her love of golf as her career winds down.
Christina
which she
wasn't
responded,
happy. No.
Who the F says my career is winding down? What WTF, brah? I fired up Christina Kim. Could do anything this week. Go, Christina. It's a mistake I could have made myself, to be honest with you. She didn't like it. I get that. And in hindsight, yes, indeed. But there you go. So I'll be on Christina Kim. And like Logue, I think Hannah Green will be the top Australian.
Christina Kim's caddy last week in Hawaii had one of the great mohawks you've ever seen in your life.
Oh, you did too, yes.
Yeah,
good point.
outstanding.
Good point, well made.
For me, the winner, despite Logue already tipping, is Nelly Corder. Kind of lightly raced this year, but she's got 4 top 10s from 5 starts so far this year. And new golf course, ball strikers always play well. So Nelly Corder's about as good as it gets. And then in terms of the Aussies, I think it's really interesting Minjee Lee's lack of tournament golf. She's played twice this year. So no idea where she'll be at, but she does live in Texas.
Hasn't played great since the US Open
No,
last
has
year.
struggled a bit, yeah. So, but she does live in Texas, so I imagine she's been there more than once and done a bit of scouting work. But I actually think Grace Kim's going to be our best this week. Okay. Big ask to bounce back after winning last week in Hawaii, but she's young enough. She wouldn't have celebrated too hard. And
well, that could go either way, actually,
yeah, that's,
Jimmy.
yeah, that's true. But then, and big occasions just don't scare her. I don't think she'll win, but she'll be close. And the others.
On a by the way, full props, Grace Kim. We didn't mention what an extraordinary performance.
Unbelievable.
I didn't think she was that good. I didn't see her winning something this year. I thought keeping a card would be good. That's an amazing performance.
Magnificent driver of the golf ball.
I've never not that good this quickly, but
no, that's
I think
right.
she definitely had it. To be
that's
a multiple
right.
LPGA.
It's hard. It's a hard transition. You go from this tiny little pond where you're a huge fish, and they drop you on the LPGA. You're a guppy at best.
Yeah.
And that's a tough transition to make, and a lot of people struggle with it. That's an extraordinary performance from her.
Added some power with the driving that was already gun barrel straight and very tidy with everything else and very impressive. So let's move along to Adelaide and LIV Golf League that makes its much anticipated debut in Australia at the Grange this week. It's pretty much accepted amongst all sides in this professional golf divide that this is the biggest event on their schedule for the year.
Really important, isn't it?
And given early ticket sales, general excitement around Australia, it's going to be a huge week for them. Apparently it's a sellout already, with the 48 players and teams taking on a composite course at the Grange, comprising holes from the west and the east courses, at the property where Norman won his first big pro event, the 1976 West Lakes Classic. Both courses were originally Vern Morecambe designs. Mike Clayton updated the West, and that was done in 2008. That's ranked 39th in Australia, and Norman redid the East in 2013, which is now 48th in Australia. Always amazing conditioning down there. A bit more width on the West, while the East is kind of a bit more heavily bunkered. And in a complete rarity, I think, for LIV Golf, this might be its first. There's no water in play.
Anywhere?
Not to my knowledge from looking at the course layout.
Excellent.
Which I think they've had mostly golf courses dominated by water. So, interesting.
It's been a very Florida sort of tour to this point.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah,
it's going to be a big step up from Crooked Cat.
This is, well, that's right.
Some genuine heathland in the Grange as opposed to...
They should pick some and take it back and send it to them. And say,
without question, this is the best golf course they've played. When it comes to players, Cam Smith is going to be the main focus for much of the week until the gun goes off and probably afterwards. Plays very well at home. He won in Queensland back in November, and he came back to Australia pretty much straight after he was T34 at Augusta. So we've gotten all the reunions and all that stuff out of the way. Form has been a bit questionable this year, and he kind of fell into top Aussie at Augusta after Jason Day imploded. And then the standout performers from the Masters from LIV being Brooks Koepka, Phil Mickelson, Patrick Reed, are clearly in form and likely to contend. Are rare for all three of them, who have only been here to Australia to play President's Cup events, never played individual tournaments. Patrick Reed was supposed to play in Perth once and then pulled out and played another event on the other side of the world.
Because he was sick.
Yeah, he was sick.
Too sick to come
Too
here.
sick to
but
come
just
here,
well
but
enough to play
not too
another
sick
event.
to play another event.
Patrick Reed looks a menace this week, I think.
And he'll play good around there.
And he's got a score to settle with Australia after the
he
President's
does.
Cup too, so that'll fire him up.
And a bunch of them got here early too. They're out at the AFL at Gather Round, and then, like I said, Cam was here early. So, yeah.
Significantly, I think they've been able to place the Use Golf Facts Twitter account at the AFL that day.
With the photo backup of the players, yes.
Which
indeed.
seems like circumstantial enough evidence, or like better than circumstantial evidence.
All of that aside,
It's a self-doxing.
Yeah.
All the LIV controversy aside, won't it be a joy to see Adelaide Sandbelt golf, which we don't see enough of in the world ever, and it is magnificent over there. And even we in Australia just ignore it.
And hopefully it's set up well that guys like, Mickelson is a fascinating prospect playing that sort of golf course.
Yep.
Koepka the same, the way he's playing. Cam certainly, Reed as well. It's going to really highlight how good that golf in Adelaide is, which doesn't get enough attention.
Like Augusta, but not that far. It's a lot closer to what we saw at Augusta than Crooked Cat the week before. The style of golf is much closer, isn't it? You can play it along the ground when you need to.
Very firm. Yeah,
It'll be
a lot
firm.
of run with
It'll
the
be
cooch.
really interesting golf, actually, to watch.
I think it'll be a bit short, but we'll see.
Yeah, I'd say that's probably the concern. But the use of the 9 holes from each course, I think they might have stretched it a little bit. A lot of that is, again, TV and fan zones because they've got a lot of that stuff to set up.
Let's hope they set it up well, not penal to try and keep the scores down. Let them play.
Yeah. The other interesting one who's here, of course, early was Mark Leishman, who had a game in the par comp at Warrnambool yesterday.
Went all right, didn't he?
Yeah, he went all right for his +6 or whatever handicap.
Shoot 8 under at 38 points.
Yep.
It's not bad.
No, it's a par comp.
Oh, sorry, +2.
Yeah.
Nice.
Difficult to play a par comp when you're giving shots back to the golf course.
Imagine standing in the shower 6 over for the day already before you've even left the house.
Yeah.
Before you even got
Really underrated event though, par. Like people hate it.
People do
I
hate
think
it.
it's
People
great.
do hate
It's like you're playing match play against the course.
Yeah, great.
That's the way to think about it.
I agree.
It's fun.
What about when you have foursomes par? People really get upset about that.
Oh, yeah.
And look, I'm here to tell you, statistically, you're going to have a better score in par than you are in any other format
Why
of
is
club
that?
golf.
Why?
That's how it works out, because you have more bad holes than you have eagles. You have more net double bogeys than you have more net eagles.
Right.
That makes sense.
The other way around. Yeah.
But otherwise, the field the same, of course, for all of their events, with the other Australians being Matt Jones and Jed Morgan, with Wade Ormsby sitting in the wings as a reserve down there. I'll be heading down to Adelaide tomorrow morning, and your daily coverage will be through golfaustralia.com.au and the magazine's social channels, with weather part of my pre-planning, and it's actually pretty perfect weather for 3 days, maybe some rain on Friday. On to the tips, and personally, I'm looking at Brooks Koepka this week with great interest after Augusta last day, little struggles, and then the travel down here, but he's showing himself to be the best player out there, I think, at the moment, winning in Florida, second at Augusta where he was right in the mix. This should suit him too, really.
I'm assuming he'd be totally gassed.
Yeah, me too.
Well, he's had a week and a half off.
Okay.
From Sunday at Augusta, he's not played till Friday week after. So that's the beauty of and he's gotten here early and he's relaxed and hanging out. And so I don't think gassed is an issue for the LIV guys, really. Rod, a winner?
LIV, I don't know. I'll go with Cam.
Yep.
I actually think Mark Leishman will play some of his best LIV golf this week. He and Cam, when they're at home, push each other along. It's a weird thing from that World Cup a couple of years ago where they really play ball, gave it a real run on the Sunday. They seem to push each other along whenever they play down here. So
he played some decent golf at Crooked Cat as well.
Yeah. Oh, Leishman's
Inspired
a good
by
player.
the Florida Heathland.
Yeah, he is a good player, and this is kind of his sort of golf too. So, yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if Leishman was there at the end, but I'll pick Cam because he's kind of the best player in the field. I do think probably Patrick Reed is going to win. I think you're right about that, Logue.
Logue?
Well, I'm not picking Patrick Reed. I do think he'll be a menace this week. But
Hazy is just at home throwing things at the phone.
Yeah.
I'm going with Aussie Abe answer.
Aussie Abe.
Aussie Abe.
Honest Abe.
Yeah.
Yep.
He's return to Australia where he's had some success, and he hasn't shown a lot of form in LIV, and I think it's his time.
Am I imagining?
Of course, it's a shortish course as well. I think he gets a lot of run. He's an accurate iron player. I think it really suits his game.
Am I imagining?
Unbelievable iron player.
Is it weird trying to tip these LIV things? There's something really
It's
weird
difficult.
about this.
Yeah,
I don't know.
Like because it moves around so much, the golf courses are quite different, and then there's intermittent play where some of them play a bit, some of them don't. It's very difficult to track a form line or anything like that. And
Danny Lee really shook me as well.
Yeah, but,
That was
but like guys like that will have their week, and you think, oh, they found something, and then they just go back into the middling part of it,
exactly.
and it feels like this week, Matt Jones spoke about how much the Australian team are going to be up to try and win the team event. I feel like sometimes you've got a week where a team focuses on that being their focus, and the other guys are trying to win for themselves, and then so it's very difficult to get a sense of.
Are we tipping teams, or are we not doing?
Well, you can tip a team if you like.
No, I've got no idea. I only know three of the names. I think High Flyers,
I think the
Ironheads,
Australian Ripper GC wins this week by
GC.
quite a bit. Yeah.
Just before we move on, we thought, Jimmy, we were almost certain that at least one of the big names was going to pull out before this event, but it hasn't happened, has it?
Not as yet. No. I wonder if they have something in their contract they can get out of once a year.
You'd assume so. I mean, if you're injured or something like that.
Given that they went from 8 events to 14 and they didn't think it was going to be 14, I don't think they necessarily all wanted to be around the world. But this event, given the importance of it as a showpiece of what LIV Golf is, that no one was getting a day off.
And it's what you signed up for too.
That's it. I mean, I'll be interested to.
That's what the money's for.
That's right.
I'll be interested to ask a Phil Mickelson this week as to, you never came here before. You're obviously contracted to. What was the reason you didn't? And is it just that you have to, or what's the story? I mean, he's going to.
I was sure he played an Australian Open in the late 90s.
You've been saying that for a long time.
I know, and I've never been able to find it in the results. So he clearly didn't, but I'm still convinced that he did. Ask him how he went that week. I'll clear it up.
I'll check. And teams are the theme in the PGA Tour and Louisiana this week for the Zurich Classic, where 2-man teams will try and win one of my favourite trophies in golf, the championship belts, like a wrestling tag team. Outstanding.
That's not bad, is it?
Yeah.
Quite the innovation this tournament.
Yeah. Rod, tell us about it.
We bang on about wanting something more than just 72-hole stroke play, don't we? But yet somehow I don't feel like the Zurich's captured it. I don't know why. This should have done it.
Yep.
But it hasn't for me, and I don't think it has for a whole lot of others. Anyway, let's go on. It's a TPC course, so you know what you're getting. Pete Dye Design, Steve Ogden and Kelly Gibson consulted, so that's interesting. Bit of player input. According to the website, it's built for the pros, experienced by you. Is that a network-wide
I think so.
logo? So it's not just the TPC Louisiana. Most of the reviews you see talk about the conditioning, the practice facilities, the helpful staff. That always tells you something about the golf course, doesn't it? And how well it... Anyway, so look, it's not a bad golf course.
Carts.
Yeah, that's right. Oh, the cart was lovely and clean. Had GPS, and you could order food from the 8th tee. So look, the course is not a poor golf course. It's a good golf course, but there's
A lot of alligators.
Stunning about it. Yeah. The team, they went to this team event in 2017. This format tweaked it a bit over the years. It's 4-ball foursomes, 4-ball foursomes. Most people think the order's wrong. I'm one of them. Sunday should be 4-ball because the scoring record for the foursomes is 65 and the scoring record for the 4-ball is 59.
Yeah.
You'd think that's a more exciting Sunday, wouldn't you?
Yeah, but they switched it to be
well.
this way because they wanted to get more of it being a team thing rather than just one guy plays really well. Because if you've got a guy playing well and his partner's not playing well and he's got to hit the next shot, there's a lot more drama to it. Foursome's got a lot more drama in closing stages.
Yeah, maybe. I don't know. Anyway, it just feels like you'd want someone charging at the end. Anyway, so look, that's the format. Schauffele and Cantley, defending champions. You'd have to think they're in with a chance again this week, given how they both played last week. Morikawa, Homer, and the Fitzpatrick brothers. They're probably the three big teams. Some interesting oddball teams.
Yes. I was going to say you're sleeping on the team here because there's one that's caught my interest.
Torbjorn Olesen and Nikolai Højgaard, which is not the one you're talking about. John Daly and David Duval.
Which is the one I'm talking about.
What is going on there?
Yeah. I don't care what's going on. I'm just excited to see it.
Is there a cut as well?
Yes, there is.
Yeah.
Okay, that's just well. At least we'll get two rounds of them.
But how do they come together? I mean, they're both Open champions, so I assume they know each other to nod and whatnot. But you can't imagine that David Duval and John Daly are mates, where one ringing the other and said, "Hey, you want to tee it up in the Zurich?" Which is what happens with a lot of them. You get players from all over the world whose mates play on the PGA Tour and invite them to come and play.
Yeah, well, that's Koepka used to get his brother.
Yeah, that's right.
Matt Fitzpatrick's doing that.
Yeah, so I don't know. That's just weird. I think, they're probably going to be the team that's the most interest in the first 2 days, as you say.
That's fascinating to me. Like, David Duval
Is it
barely plays any
are they
golf.
Zurich sponsored? I can't imagine so.
No, Zurich always had some top tier players, your Justin Roses, Jason Days, and whatever. But Jason Day not in the field, so I'm assuming he's no longer on the books at Zurich. But
And here's a left field version of the same pairing: Jeff Ogilvy and Kevin Stadler.
yeah, I saw that too
What is going on there?
with the baby walrus.
That's amazing.
Yeah, I saw that when I was looking through, and I thought, how good's that? I mean,
It's just
that could. Both of those guys lived in Arizona for a long time, so I'm assuming they know each other decently well. There's always some odd connection.
Yeah, cool.
You know, like
6 degrees.
Daly grew up a little bit older than Tiger. Like Tiger knew him from a kid. Duval may be similar. I mean, they were brilliant young golfers, so you never know.
Isn't Ryan Palmer famous for like sidling up to tournament
he had
winners?
John Rahm.
And stuff?
Yeah, Ryan Palmer.
As soon
played
as
with-
somebody hits,
like,
Ryan Palmer's
what are you
like,
doing Zurich week?
He played with John Rahm and with someone else, maybe Jordan Spieth. Yeah, he had Jordan Spieth for a couple of years.
I think he
traded
might
him
have
for
done
John Rahm.
Scheffler as well. He
Yeah,
might have,
it's like
as soon as they hit form, he's like, "Oh, I'm in there."
Yeah, it's outstanding. I love it.
I didn't know who he was playing with this week. So
No, I didn't see him actually on the list, so
maybe you got knocked back by all the tournament winners and decided better just not to tee up.
that's right.
If you can't have one of the best in the world. So look, some interesting stuff.
A
Strange.
winner from you, Rod?
So, Australians in the field.
No,
first.
yep.
Endicott and Baddeley.
They're
There'll be a lot of confusion
like
about that. If it wasn't for the
basically
hair,
brothers, yeah.
Exactly the same person. So Baddeley's
Aaron has been something of a mentor to Harrison since he went over there and moved to Phoenix. So
Aaron's hair will be key to it. And a really pair that I'll really enjoy watching, Cam Percy and Greg Chalmers.
yeah,
A couple of old stage out. They actually might go all right in this format. Young guys with foursomes especially, they won't have played a lot of it, whereas both Percy and Chalmers will have played quite a bit of that at state level here in Australia. It's been a long time, but they'll have had some experience with it.
I like
So-
the left and right-handed combination
Left and
as well. It's
right-handed
always good to open the
combination.
batting with that.
Absolutely. Cam Percy's been playing some good golf for the last couple of years. Keeps keeping his card into his 40s, which is a pretty fair result there. My tip, Morikawa and Homer.
Greg Chalmers does a bit of work on Cam Percy's putting.
Right.
So that might be a psych out when he's standing there going, oh, coach is watching.
One of the
me."
best
That's
followers
always
on
pressure.
Twitter, Greg Chalmers. If you've got a certain sense of humour, he's a fabulous follow on Twitter, Greg Chalmers.
Very funny man.
Very funny guy.
And Logue is a very successful team golfer yourself, albeit because you and Porter's strong enough to carry you on his back. Who do you like?
I do like Billy Horschel and Sam Burns. They've got form in this tournament, but I'm not picking them. I'm going with the Danish combination of Nikolai Højgaard and Thorbjorn Olesen.
That would be Højgaard.
Højgaard. Yeah. But I was going
So
halfway between.
So
like
you really
the
had
Western
picked Horschel and
pronunciation.
Burns by saying that. So if they win, you go, well, I did mention them, but
Yeah.
I didn't pick them. I picked these other guys.
I'm going.
So you've had 2 cracks at it there, which is kind of, well, let's go back through the tapes. That's probably how he's managed to pick 4
That's
winners
probably
this
how
year.
he's done a lot of this. I'm going emphatically with Cantlay and Schauffele. No one's beating those.
I can't see it. The only thing that could stop them is fatigue.
Yeah. They love
been
playing
two-
golf together. They're
two
best
good-
friends. It's like it's got everything.
They deserve each other.
Patrick Cantlay has a serious want to show everyone up. I think at the moment too. So
He's been under the pump, hasn't he? He's been a
it's
fair bit of heat.
hefty sort of stuff coming his way. about
Doesn't
his
seem to
speed
bother
of play.
him.
No,
in the slightest
exactly. And I
of
just
it.
that's kind of. Whereas I think you pointed this out, Jimmy, yesterday when we were having coffee. Max Homer got pinged for on social media for being a bit slow with his aim point. His immediate response: "I'm going to work on that." I didn't realise it was that bad.
Yeah.
Cantlay, everybody's been doing it for years, and every excuse to not change his own.
He said when I wrote a column about last week, I was looking through his press conference, and he said, "Well, when we play like this and play for every shot matters." It's like, yeah, every shot matters. Doesn't mean it can take 5 minutes.
That's right. It's not getting any less or more
doesn't-
important the longer you take over it.
That's I don't understand that as an excuse to anybody in their job that, if I'm writing a story and,
every
and
word
BJ's
matters.
hammering me about how I'm close to deadline. So, but every word matters. Screw your deadline.
And here's the other thing, and it always happens at some point during the year. Somebody will play as a single player because someone withdraws on a Saturday or something, and they'll be a generally slow player, and they'll get round the course in 64 shots, and it'll take them 2.5 hours.
Yeah.
It's like there's a lesson in there. Get on with it.
Well, the because they played 3 balls on Sunday at Harbour Town on the last day, and it was Cantlay, Spieth, and Fitzpatrick, and it was noticeable the time it was taking. There was great video of Billy Foster looking like he was ready to go to sleep. But then when it was just Spieth and Fitzpatrick in the playoff, it was a completely different speed, which is. It shows Cantlay isn't the only one.
No, not at all.
And he doesn't deserve all the blame because the tour are the ones who don't penalise them.
He did at Augusta on Sunday, though.
But
deserve all the blame.
But it was pretty clear that he's a problem.
Yeah,
so
it doesn't help that he looks like the guy who's going to take all the best bits from the buffet and like keep extra portions for himself and just be quiet and sneaky about it too.
For those who haven't been enlightened, give us your rundown on Koepka from a couple of years ago on what his equivalent was. What did you say? He's the guy that
it looks like the universal men's toilet
The
symbol.
one I liked was he's the guy that just sort of walks up behind the blackjack table.
Oh, yeah, the
and
cooler.
just takes all the air out of it. You don't know why, what's happened. Then you turn around and there's Koepka.
He's the cooler.
The cooler.
Yeah.
Finally, this week, let's go to Cantland Shuffler.
Yeah, good on.
Finally, to this week, we go to the DP World Tour and a new event with the ISPS Honda Championship. ISPS Honda, who sponsor a crazy amount of golf tournaments and golfers, but they go to Japan this week. And Rod, you're once again going to tell us what we need to know.
First question, where would golf be without ISPS Honda?
In smaller markets,
Australian Open might have maybe not disappeared, but it would be a whole lot. They sponsor so much golf around the place. It's Dr. Hander, of course, the head of, who's an odd bod. We saw him at the New Zealand Open a couple of years ago, played in that final group in the Pro-Am. And he's a strange cat.
Well, you're on the list now.
It was...
yeah.
That's
okay.
Anyway,
it's Rodney John Morri.
Agree to disagree.
It's been lovely doing all of the golf podcasts, but my time in golf has now come to an end officially. Anyway, first time European Tour has been to Japan, co-sanctioned obviously between the two tours. Tough event to find out much about, as is everything in Japan. Japan golf is very difficult to follow if you've got an interest in it. Although
hard to get on the tour, hard to find out about the tour. It's
to their credit, when you do find your way to the Japanese tour website and you look up the player bios, you can find out the blood type of every player on the tour, which has always been just one of the lovely little wrinkles about the Japan tour that don't know. Anyway, it's a Nicklaus design course from the early 1990s, the Ishioka Golf Club. Hard to find a lot about it. It's probably not that different to what we're going to see at the Chevron. It's a Jack Nicklaus golf course, not a bad golf course, not a great golf course.
Not necessarily one of his 18 best.
I don't think it made one of his 18 best. It's on a flat site, lots of trees. The field is what you'd expect. This is going to be, if you've got a child to draw up a golf tournament, this is what the golf tournament would look like, I think. The golf course.
Golf tournament-shaped golf tournament.
It's a golf tournament-shaped golf course. So Bob McIntyre, Guido Migliozzi, Adrian now, Richie Ramsey, that's your level of player. Yep. Good players, just not quite at the top tier. From the Japanese contingent, most of us won't know most of them, obviously, because Japan golf is hard to find, but Ryo Ishikawa is in the field. Hideto Tanahara and Yuta Ikeda are two I think people have probably heard of. They played a little bit on the world stage. And, of course, the other one that people will have heard is my pick from last week and again this week, Takumi Kanaya, who really is a special talent. For a little bloke, he's quite the package.
I think people will have heard of Ernie Els, who's also...
Ernie Els is in the field. Yes. That's a good point, although we wouldn't expect a lot from Ernie this week. The Australians in the field. Lucas Herbert. This is an interesting one. Lucas Herbert and Brad Kennedy.
Brad Kennedy gets in via the Japanese
tour. And Lucas gets in for being a European Tour winner.
I think Lucas
why
Herbert
is he playing there rather than Zurich?
Might be an ISPS Honda ambassador.
Right. There you go. That explains it. Well done.
My guess.
Yep. So Takumi Kanaya for me in terms of picks will feel like he's got some unfinished business from last week where he probably should have won.
Yes.
Led into the final round, led for much of the final round. Good player at home, already won a bunch of times on the Japan Tour, including as an amateur if I'm not mistaken.
Absolutely.
Did he win the Japan Open as an amateur or one of the other big
maybe
events?
Mizuno Open?
Mizuno Open or something. So look, comfortable at home, unfinished business from last week. I'll go with Takumi Kanaya.
Logue, you're somewhat of a Japan expert. What have you?
I keep going for Hitsatsune, but he's failed me. So I'm going to just put him on ice for a year or two.
A year or two?
A year or two.
Year or two.
Yeah, he's been told now. He needs to go away.
One of your putters goes behind the door. It doesn't come out for a year or two.
Needs to take a good look at himself and come back when he's ready to win tournaments. I'm sticking with the Hoigo theme.
Yes.
Going with Rasmus.
Yes.
This time.
Okay.
I'm concerned the brothers, on opposite parts of the world, but maybe they perform their best that way. We'll see. I don't know.
Could you pick the brothers out of a lineup?
They're both kind of spindly looking.
Very similar. Yeah. I've interviewed them one after the other.
Yeah, pretty much
very close.
Different games, though. Really different games.
Yeah.
Interestingly.
Quite individual guys, but yeah. Lucas Herbert for me was very impressive at the match play a couple of weeks ago, missing the Masters by a spot on the world rankings. made the cut at Harbour Town last week. It's kind of an interesting field. I think he stands out and clearly doesn't mind going back to the DP World Tour and having a win.
He'll think he should win.
Absolutely.
And that's a very important first step.
Absolutely. So that's all of it for this week. As mentioned earlier, head to golfaustralia.com.au for live updates from LIV Adelaide, as well as all the other tournaments, especially the Chevron Championship this week and weekend. Logue, thank you for your time. Rod, insightful as always. That's it for episode 10 of Playing from the Tips. Thanks for listening, and we'll be back to do it all again next week.